Okay guys, so I wanted to just give you a quick demo on creating an eye, and I have put together here, let me see if I can get where you can see this, a real sort of small version of this, but I wanted to show you how this complete process works for my kids who are working online in clay. So the first thing you want to do is to make the actual eyeball, which is basically a big sphere, right? And then you're going to need some kind of device to come in here and make a big hole in it, and that's going to represent the iris, the inside part of your eyeball, and then the pupil, which is this little dot right here, because when you're sculpting in clay, to define this, when you don't have color, you've got to do it with depth, and so that's one way you can do it. When you're sculpting the head, and I'll do a different demo of the whole entire head here, hopefully in a day or so, this thing sits down into what would be the orbit of the eye, and I've just made a little small section of the head so that we could kind of place that down in there, and you want it to sit pretty deeply into that so that it'll hold it in place once you start sculpting this. And then you're going to need two big flaps, and so I just rolled out some coils and mashed these flat like so, and these are going to develop the eyelids. And so you got to think about this as your eye sitting inside your head, and this is good for you guys who are doing drawing too, because that way you can see that there is an actual width to the lid that's laying over your eye. So it's going in place here, and then I've made one almost identical to that for the underneath part of the eye. And again, they're going to overlap, and you want the upper lid to overlap the lower. So they're going to kind of lay out like this, and I want the eyeball to be kind of up underneath that. So here's what we're looking at. So you can see, you know, this is basically the same thing, right? I've got the eyeball in the back here, and then the lid laid out over the top. So from there, you're going to kind of combine these two, so just by, you know, taking your finger and sort of smoothing these out so that that overlap's made. Sorry, I got out of my camera, didn't I? And you just keep working that little area there till you get that looking like you want it. And then you're going to come in and create the actual little inside part of the eye right there. And you can do that in a couple of ways. So what I usually do is just come in and kind of carve out, not all the way as deep as the eyeball, but a little area that signifies that inner lid, little flap of skin that comes in and over your eye inside there. And so you just kind of keep plugging away at that with whatever tools you've got at your disposal at home. A butter knife or a fork, or, you know, whatever you've got, to kind of start working that area and smoothing it out. I've just brought in all my old clay tools from down in my studio, and just been kind of working with those. And you want to create like a little bit of a layer between this and this, so that that feels like there's actually an overlap there, that there's something on top of the eyeball itself. And then I'm going to come in and kind of snug this lid down. And I always kind of come back in here and just start molding this edge into the eye itself. And you want to work all the way around the eye doing that. Just kind of working that surface down into the eye itself so that there's not a gap there. Okay. And you can kind of soften that. Now, if this were on an actual face, there would be more clay added in. Sorry, I just bumped that with my hand. More clay added in up here, and then there'd be more clay coming off this way. This would kind of blend down into the rest of the face. This would attach into the nose. This nose is way too little for this face, but it would, you know, kind of lock into it. And so once I'm able to get a hold of my wire stand, I will start a full face so that you guys can see that whole process. I may break it up into a couple of sessions, and I'll try to kind of pre-do some of the parts so that it doesn't take quite as long. But you'll do the same thing with this upper lid as you do with that lower lid, just kind of coming around it and joining it in here to the eye. You won't be able to do that there because, you know, obviously it's not going to touch that part, but you do want to kind of flatten it out. And so that, in a nutshell, is how an eye gets made to become a part of a face. So I'll do a demo on noses and mouths probably once I get my full head set up so that you can see the full process. But I did do kind of a nose and a mouth here. You can see the thickness of that and how that all starts to happen. But I will do like a bigger life-size version of this little guy for you guys. So that'll be next.